Captain Marvel is the worst Marvel movie. No, that's not just because I'm sexist, it's because the movie just isn't good. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hey, Nex, why don't you just rewatch the movie? You know, it might be better on a rewatch. I did. And I wrote notes for every single part that I had a problem with. So, here's my little rundown of the entire plot of the movie, putting in my input as usual, and just reviewing it, you know? I have to get some sort of payment for my time watching this garbage pile, terrible, awful, just stinky, poopy movie. But yeah, let's begin. The movie starts out with the Marvel logo, but it's a tribute to Stan Lee. Shame this tribute wasn't in front of literally any other Marvel movie. So, the movie starts off with Carol Danvers waking up and opening a window to a really, really hollow looking sci-fi world. I don't even know why it's hollow, it just looks soulless. Nothing creative can actually be seen in this world, compared to the strange and unusual places that James Gunn's movies went. This is genuinely a huge problem for me, considering I love sci-fi worlds, and as long as it had a cool looking urban planet for the Kree, I would have been fine with most of the movie on visual alone. But that doesn't really much matter, because throughout the movie this place shows up once. What a waste. So we cut to the first shirtless scene within 3 minutes of the movie's runtime, a new record for Marvel. And we see Carol and Basic Guy McGee fighting. At the end of the fight, we see Carol almost straight up kill the guy with her nuke hands. Why exactly? Because she angry. I don't know about you, but I would never lose so bad at something against a friend that I would straight up shoot the guy. That seems to be a bit of a reach, but we're not done. She shoots him anyway. What? What? Huh? Keep in mind that in later parts of this movie, her powers can literally destroy an entire ship. And this guy tanks it. Considering that in What If also, it said that her punches are the equivalent to nuclear bombs. I am not making that up. So then Carol goes to the Supreme Intelligence, this weird AI thing that like controls the entire Kree. I don't know if this was a thing in the comics, but it just seems weird, dude. It's just weird and kind of boring. So she goes to the Supreme Intelligence, where the Supreme Intelligence just says the word imposter, and that's all I got out of that interaction. The Supreme Intelligence send her off to a mission, along with Conrath the Pursuer from Guardians 1.
Who?
Yeah, you know him. This guy who says, who? Who? That's the guy. That's my guy. I like that guy. He's cool. We have cannon fodder, and also mommy. I mean Minerva. God, this is such a dumb joke. My parents watch my videos. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. So they go bomb a planet. Man, I sure wonder if these guys are evil. Then they threaten the locals. Man, I sure wonder if these guys are evil. Then Minerva, being infinitely better than Carol in every single possible way, takes down one of the Skrulls single-handedly, and Carol can't even take down a single Kree spy. God, I want a Minerva movie. Carol gets captured, and in the only semi-cool scene in this movie, she gets her memories searched through this really cool, like, visually stunning mind searchy thing. I'm not entirely sure like what it is, but it's cool. I like it. We need more of this. But she breaks out of the mind searching area and single-handedly takes down the entire Skrull army on the ship somehow. Remember how she's not even the best fighter in the Kree army? Yeah, well, that doesn't matter here. She takes out all of the Skrull fighters without even having her powers, might I add. Takes the escape pod to Earth. Carol lands in a Blockbuster Video. Look, it's Blockbuster Video. You know that thing from the 80s that you remember from the 80s? This is when Carol instantly blows off the head of James Bond. I wonder what this could be referring to. And then walks out to a cop who points her to a Radio Shack. Look, it's Radio Shack. You know, the thing that, from the 80s that you remember from the 80s? This is when Phil Coulson and Nick Fury show up. The only two, semi-okay parts of this movie. And a Skrull attacks. Carol chases down the Skrull into a train, and he shapeshifts into an old lady on the train. I have several questions with this. First off, how did nobody else see him transform from a surfer into an old lady? We've seen how they transform before, and it's not exactly subtle. And second off, why didn't he just pick someone else who wasn't at the train? Who, Carol wouldn't have been able to figure out who they were, considering she just looked at the same old lady leave the train. This scene genuinely makes no sense to me, but it has one of the last Stan Lee cameos, so I'm alright with it. She defeats a Skrull and then goes to a computer lab. No, I'm not going to make the 80s joke because it's dumb, and I'm so tired of making the exact same joke over and over again because this movie decides it wants to make the same nostalgia pandering references over and over again. But anyway, we flash back to an actual lab where they're inspecting the Skrull body, and this is where we get the first tease of the eye patch. You see, it's always been a huge mystery where Nick Fury lost his eye. The only reference to it we've ever had was when he said that it was because somebody betrayed his trust. This is said in one of the most badass lines in Captain America Winter Soldier.
Soldiers trust each other. That's what makes it an army. Not a bunch of guys running around shooting guns.
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
And it is explained how he lost his eye in this movie, but we still have a little bit further to go before that one happens. Nick Fury and Carol sit in a bar and make sure they aren't Skrull. Nick Fury explains this by telling his past, and Carol explains this through property damage of a low-income bar in the middle of nowhere. This in turn probably destroys the bar owner's life, sending him into a deep depression, knowing that he's no longer going to be able to pay for his kids, because he needs to fix the bar now. He was already in debt before, but now it's sent him into a spiral of loans and debts, and they don't ever explain this. Poor bar owner guy. What a hero. The real hero here. They go to an FBI base, yay! This is the most uneventful part. But Goose the cat is here, and though I have one problem with Goose that will be shown later, he's adorable and I love him. So question, why did they have a cat wandering through the FBI base? Is Goose the general emotional support animal for the FBI? I know it was the pilot lady's cat, but why did they just have the cat wandering around the FBI base? That seems like such a weird thing. I just find that incredibly hilarious. They didn't even try to make that funny, and that was hilarious to me. Carol then finds out about her past in probably one of the worst acted scenes I have ever laid witness to, where instead of looking scared and confused, Carol just kind of looked tired. She pulled a 9 to 5 and just got back home, and she's turning on the sports channel and is slowly nodding off to Tom Brady throwing the football, and it's just kind of dozing off. It is such a weird scene to me. I don't know how this got the green light. I don't know how this is one of the takes that they were okay, this is the best one, we got it. But no, Brie Larson is a fantastic actor and deserves more roles.
I do all my stunts.
I did my stunts because I thought that that's what everyone did. And then
Tom Cruise over here?
No, I want to be the first me, not the next Tom Cruise. Thank you very much.
Well, he does his own stunts,
Nick Fury and Carol are chased out of the FBI base and in an admittedly suspenseful scene, and they fly away on a prototype Quinjet, which is a pretty cool callback to the first Avengers movie. Not Captain America First Avenger, not like the actual first Avengers movie. Like Avengers. And also Goose is here again, and any scene with Goose in it is a good one. Then we have a scene of boring villain guy talking with another relatively boring villain from the Guardians 1. That's right, it's Roman the Accuser. It's Ronan the Accuser, baby! Let's go, best character in the MCU! There's also this scene with Maria Rambeau and Carol reuniting, and honestly, all I took away from this scene is the fact that Nick Fury says in the background, "She can do a lot more with those hands," and I was laughing for a good 2 minutes. Then Carol looks over at her memories, and whoa, is Brie Larson actually showing the slightest bit of emotion in this scene? Seriously, this is the most emotional she looks in the entire movie. Like, for a character who's supposed to be emotional, and the whole point of the movie is that it's okay to be emotional, she's honestly just not. Like, she shows little to no emotion besides Angie, which is honestly just lazy character writing and terrible acting from Brie Larson's part. Talos shows up, the leader of the Skrull, and threatens Maria's daughter, and then shows that he's the good guy all along, and the Kree are not good guys. Who would have guessed? So, it shows that Carol got her powers from Kree energy core that exploded and somehow didn't kill her instantly on the spot. Here's where we have the most major problem with the entire plot. Why did they keep this random person who got, like, blasted with radiation? Like, this is like 5-head level plays from the Kree. Like, quote unquote, the supreme intelligence kept an actual weapon that could find out the truth at any second and basically ruin their entire society. Like, I feel like they would have just straight up killed her. And it's not like they tried to extract the energy from her at any point. They fully trained her for space combat and banked on her having amnesia in order to control her. This is genuinely one of the dumbest plots to any movie I've ever seen. And I've seen The Room. I'm going there. I'm going there, and it's going hard. So now Talos wants Carol to work with the Skrull in order to help their people. Even though Carol is responsible for at least like 25 Skrull deaths within this movie alone. This becomes even worse when Talos says there's only a handful of Skrull left. And hey, for the second time in this movie, Carol shows emotion that isn't anger and actually sheds a tear. This is huge. Also, there's a scene in here that makes genuinely no sense. Like, Carol is trying to talk Maria into flying into space on a suicide mission, and her daughter is just kind of like talking her into it. Like, if my mom was going to shoot herself into space in an untested modified military jet, I wouldn't exactly be very perceptive to the idea. But no, her daughter is an absolute sociopath who wants to see everybody die. Also, she mentions Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and look, it's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air! You know that thing from the 80s that you remember from the 80s? Oh! God, I'm slowly losing energy. Then Captain Marvel picks through a bunch of different colors for her costume and cycles through this really cool neon one that I would have really preferred to the regular one. Like, it looks so cool, and they're just like, ew, no, that one's ugly. That one, no one would ever like the neon colors, but I do. I do, Carol. I like the neon colors, Carol. And now they go for a basic red, white, and red, gold, and blue? Okay, whatever. I don't care. Didn't want it anyway. It's fine. It's fine. I don't care. After that, there's this scene that is legitimately funny and actually is my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's just the main group chatting, and you could tell there was a bit of improv here. Also, Goose is here, so everything is good. They find the magic super lab, and for some reason, Nick Fury and Maria Rambeau walking there too. Which doesn't make any sense considering they're expecting to get into fights with an alien super army, and what are these regular humans supposed to do against that? Like, what? Turns out there was a bunch of Skrull on the magic school lab, and Talos just wanted to get back to his family. Aw, it's so cute. Hello. So, you know that super soldier alien army that they were expecting to run into? Yeah, well, they ran into them. Minerva and all. Yes! And for some reason, when Carol gets captured and is in the Supreme Intelligence, there's Nirvana playing in the background. Until it just isn't. Like, it just stops when we cut back to it for no discernible reason. It's just gone. They forgot about it. Then Carol is sent to a slideshow of her past, and there's this one where she falls down from literally nothing. Like, there's the rest of them are like go-kart crashes and falling off of very high ropes. And then there's this one where she's just swinging a baseball bat and then falls backwards for no reason. I guess they ran out of things for Carol to fail at, so they were like making stuff up. Like, what if Carol was playing baseball one day and just beefs it? And everybody was like, yeah, thank you, Jerry. You're a valued member of this team. I'm so So Carol has a superhero moment where she recalls her past and says something weird and stupid, like, my name is Carol. And then suddenly gets the strength to beat the enemy. Like, this is some bad anime writing right here. And now, for some reason, her powers have the ability to shut off technology, which this wasn't explained previously. Actually, it's never explained how Carol's powers work. Actually, I think in the comics it does have something to do with radiation and energy manipulation, but they don't explain it here. They just kind of like, she shoot big PP damage out of hands. Yeah, but no, that would take actual writing to do. And we need a sudden plot device to get everybody out of here jail-free card. So Carol turns into the glowing eyes meme and then instantly wins every fight. Also, turns out Goose is actually a Flurkin, weird tentacle eating things monster. And honestly, it's just funny. It's a good joke. Goose just still stands as my favorite character in this entire movie, and he doesn't say a single thing. I love Goose. So, boring villain guy McGee, who I have watched this entire movie not knowing the name of, because he's just so genuinely irrelevant that I couldn't care any less, picks up Carol with his discount gravity guns and then starts swinging her around, and finds out that in the lunchbox, there's no Tesseract. Uh-oh, no Tesseract. Oh, yeah, there's also the Tesseract here. Yeah, that was kind of just, like, added. Yep, the Tesseract's here. Woo woo, yeah. So villain guy sends Minerva to go get the Tesseract, and somehow loses a dogfight with a ship that is infinitely less technologically advanced. This is sadly when Minerva dies, and I will never forget this film for that. Captain Villain Guy, crashes the ship in a desert, and the accusers show up to bomb Earth. But Carol flies through the ships, barely an inconvenience. So you're telling me Carol couldn't have helped out with the whole Guardians of the Galaxy 1 thing? Like, she's like, oh, it's a big universe, I had to be everywhere at once. Yeah, well, there's one of these situations where there's an Infinity Stone, and also almost genocide. And they're like, yeah, no, she had way more important things to deal with. Also, can I just say how much of a dumb decision it is to not have Ronan wear his black face makeup? Like, it's such a small change, but it ruins the entire look. The accusers just kind of look like reject Blue Man Group. and it just kind of looks funny. So we're almost at the end of the movie, thank God, and it finally comes down to a final confrontation between Villain Guy McGee and Carol. When I first watched this movie, I thought this was going to be a very well choreographed fist fight when Villain Guy puts away his weapons. It would have shown Carol's growth as a fighter, taking down somebody who completely trashed her in hand-to-hand combat before. But now she just shoots a beam at him and says, "I have nothing to prove to you." Like, you go, girl, but that would have been such a lame way to end the fight. It's so lame. This movie does everything in its power to bore you, to put you to sleep. Now here comes my least favorite part. Goose scratches Nick Fury's eye, and apparently that's why he has an eye patch. Needless to say, it completely ruins one of the most badass lines Nick Fury's ever said, which was, "Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye." It describes Nick Fury's character in such an intense way that it has become one of the most interesting and mysterious lines. And it was heavily speculated that the origin of Nick Fury's missing eye would be explained in Captain Marvel. But no, it has nothing to do with trust or betrayal. It's just a cat that scratched his eye out, and I will never forgive this movie for the mismanagement of character that it does for Nick Fury. It also makes Nick Fury into somewhat of a fraud. Like, making up these cool backstories for himself when, in all honesty, he's just kind of a guy. This movie completely ruins all of what Nick Fury is, and I'll never forgive this movie for it. So yeah, Captain Marvel goes to try and find the new Skrull home world. S.H.I.E.L.D. gets formed. It's also shown here that the Avengers was made because Carol had the nickname Avenger. So is she technically the first Avenger? I don't know. I'm just happy this movie's over. But before that happens, we get the obligatory Endgame tie-in, because let's just be honest here, the only people who went to go see the Captain Marvel in theaters just wanted to see how it tied into Endgame. And Captain Marvel was barely in Endgame. God, this movie's a drag. And that's the movie. Yay, clap for Captain Marvel. I think the main problem with this movie is that Brie Larson is the most uncharismatic actor I've ever seen. She's so boring to watch on screen that it actually makes me tired the more I watch her. Another thing that definitely turned a lot of people off to this movie, including myself, was the fact that they tried to set her up as the next Iron Man, which was never going to work from the start. The reason that Tony Stark works as a character is because he has flaws. Huge ones. He's an alcoholic, he manufactures weapons, and he's also an egomaniac. But what makes Tony Stark a good character is that these flaws are not only called out, but he grows out of these flaws throughout his time in the MCU. Whereas Captain Marvel has no flaws whatsoever and is perfect in every way. But the flaws that she does have, where it's unintentionally written in, is never called out because they're not intentional flaws. Captain Marvel is just nothing, but the film really wants you to think that she's something. Captain Marvel, in my mind, is one of the worst Marvel movies to ever be made, beating Thor: The Dark World and The Incredible Hulk by a long shot. This was the first part of a 3-parter miniseries detailing some of the worst Marvel movies to come out within the last 5 years. So stay tuned, because next video is coming out very soon. Next week, same time, same day, and we'll be on Thor: Love and Thunder. But that's all I've got for today. See ya, gamers.